Mississippi State went 3-7 last year, tacked on a
fight
with their bowl win to go 4-7. I don't know honestly right now if we have any suspensions hanging over to the beginning of the season or what happened, but that was a mess, a disgusting game anyway. Pouring rain, just gross. Nothing. I know.
Offended by what happened.
No wonder they wanted to fight. That did not look like a fun football game to be a part of. So they had that offensive explosion against LSU, but then once the season got going, Mississippi State's got a pretty decent defense, and the offense wasn't all that great. Now we got a little bit of a glimpse offensively of what's ahead in 2021 as Will Rogers kind of got just thrown into the fire, got a little bit of experience as a freshman, and so I think we expect him to be leading Mike Leach's offense again. What are the burning questions for the Bulldogs going into spring practice?
Can we move the ball? Why did you bring Mike Leach in?
For the offense, right?
And what was the weak part of your team?
I do think that the Mike Leach pitch in terms of the hire has to also be he's one in Lubbock and Pullman, and we're in Starkville. Yeah. You're doing a little bit of the big picture. He figures out ways to do more with less kind of thing.
And I do expect that we're going to see improvement from Mississippi State because we've seen with Mike Leach at previous stops, year one, especially when he's coming into a situation where he kind of has to overhaul everything. There's an adjustment period. When he took over at Texas Tech, it wasn't that different from what the Red Raiders were already doing. So they went 7-6, but when he took over at Washington State, they had run the air raid in previous years, but it wasn't exactly the same way that Mike runs his. Didn't exactly have the personnel built for it. They went 3-9 year one. Then they went 6-7 year two. They went 3-9 in year three, and then they went 9-4. And that's when things kind of took off in Washington State. It kind of became self-sustaining in Mike Leach's model. So I won't be shocked at all if we see improvement, because I have a hard time thinking that offense is going to be as bad as it was last year. I think that you get a quarterback in that's more of a fit for what you want. You have an actual offseason to install it. You're not dealing with suspensions and all that kind of stuff, and guys are able to learn the offense this offseason. I think that's going to raise the floor, and we're going to see improvement. So I do expect Mississippi State to be better. It's just I don't know how much better they can be in this division. And I know, Bud, you've talked about it on previous shows this offseason. It's I think Mississippi State fans, they're going to have a good, solid football team. It's going to come down to, things were great under Dan Mullen. I don't know if they're ever going to be that great again.
I agree. I mean, Dan Mullen is that kind of 95th percentile result in the entire history of your program under the current construct of the SEC West, right? So I have some questions here. What is Mississippi State going to do pass rush wise? Because Spencer and Jones last year for them, they were really, really pretty good. Kobe Jones had 19 pressures. Marquise Spencer had 16, and they were also extremely good against the run. And now both those guys are gone. So that's concerning. But like we noted with Arkansas, they also had a lot of offensive line problems last year. And I think I do see potential for quite a bit of improvement with Mississippi State this year offensively. I think the second year in Mike Leach's air raid, like you guys noted, really makes a lot of sense. There were games last year where the better defensive lines they played dropped 8, but still got pressure with 3. Go back and watch. I think it's I'm trying to think about the point where I started live betting the hell out of this. But this is log into your other accounts and empty it as far as Mississippi State team total unders live game, because A&M started out, they were playing them kind of head up for a little bit. And it's really? And then they just started dropping everybody. And then A&M still is crushing these guys up front. They're winning 3 on 5. I'm oh, Mississippi State's in real trouble here because their quarterbacks aren't that good. And so I think they have a real shot to be better on the offensive line with a little better continuity, a little bit better understanding. Playing with those splits, by the way, is something that is not normal for an offensive lineman to play with that wide of splits, even at the high school spread level. So that's something they can get adjusted to. I like Coach Zach Arnett. The main questions I have are how much better can the offensive line be, and then what's the pass rush going to be? Because I think they found something at quarterback last year.
Yep. Will Rogers should be very interesting to track.